wrote my new book, The Art of Caring Leadership, to be both a wake-up call and an invitation for leaders who want to uplift their teams and organizations by putting their people first. Most of us think we care, but caring leadership is about doing, taking action in a way that makes a tangible difference to our teams and our workplaces. Now, more than ever, at any time in history, we need to know what leading with heart actually means for us, for our workplaces, and for the world. The Art of Caring Leadership is a practical guide that will help you decipher what caring leadership means in practice through a framework that uncovers the steps you can take every single day. If your people know you care, not just about what they do, but who they are and can become, they will move mountains. To order your copy of the book, visit theartofcaringleadership.com. In this episode of the Leadership with Heart podcast, you hear me speak with Janine Williams, the CEO of Impulsify. She is someone I met on LinkedIn, like many of my guests, but her story was so compelling. And as you hear her share her background, how she arrived at the place she is as a very successful businesswoman, but this pivot point that happened where someone showed her care, someone showed her compassion, and then how she then exhibits that and shows that to the people that she leads now. Just very wonderful. So enjoy.
Hello, everybody. It's Heather with the Leadership with Heart podcast. And oh boy, today you guys are in for a treat. I'm speaking with Janine Williams, and oh boy, I just cannot wait for you to hear some of her backstory and just see what she does now. But I saw something, a really amazing, powerful, I guess, viral post that she had put on LinkedIn about just her personal story and a loss that she had experienced recently. And it really touched me in a huge way. I said, I've just got to get her on the show. So welcome, Janine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Where are you anyway in your leadership journey?
I am 8 years into being what I define as a reluctant CEO. I had a great business idea and zero experience to lead a company, or much less a software company, where I ended up, and kind of tried to give the idea away to anyone who would lead it. And no one wanted it. So I took it and ran with it. And I'm learning every day, still reluctantly sometimes and wholeheartedly every day. But 8 years into leading a software company here in Denver.
And what do you focus on there?
We build software for the hospitality industry to manage their retail stores that they have in their lobbies. So like your Courtyard Market or the Hilton Garden Inn, Pavilion Pantry, those little kind of essential stores off the front desk when you forgot something or you just need a pint of ice cream to get through the day. We manage the software that runs that, and then launched a self-service version of it that became quite essential during COVID, where the guest can actually just take care of the transaction themselves.
Oh, that's awesome. How did you stumble upon that? Did you work in a place like that at some point and you saw the need? Yes. Or?
Kind of a crazy background story there, but my former husband and I had started a company much like Amazon, kind of an Amazon model, where we would supply those stores. We supplied Marriott, all the Marriott brand, with product where they could just go online and order product through a single interface to make it easy for them to stay in stock, because most were just going to Costco at that time. And I went to Marriott and said, what sells, what doesn't sell, what's working? And they said, we don't have a clue. We don't have a way to track it. We just say like candy, $2, which stunned me that millions of dollars in retail sales wasn't being tracked. So flash forward, single mom, 4 kids, in desperate need of a path forward. And I said, I'm going to go build that software. And some people heartily chuckled at that because I was an English major who taught Shakespeare. And I put out a Facebook post one night and said, I have a great idea and I am an amazing kind of marketer businesswoman, but I do not know how to build software. Anybody out there want to help me build software? And so I met my partner online on Facebook.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
8 years. Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm going to back up. And now that we've gotten like a little bit of that, I want to see if you could share with us that post that was on LinkedIn was about losing someone who was really close to you, someone who meant a whole lot to you as a kid. And so you don't have to go too deep because I'll send them to the post. But if you'd like to just share a little bit about that so that people can understand the why, like how did she get here? Why did Heather choose her?
Sure. So yes, this unfortunately about 2 months ago, I lost who was essentially a foster mom to me. I had an interesting childhood, kind of a unpredictable childhood. And she realized I was living alone when I was 13 and took me in. I was a bit of a mess at that time, and she saw potential, saw heart, and let me come and live with her and her husband on a couch. I lived on a couch for about a year. And I just lost her in January. And I think that post was really for me, I didn't know how to honor her in a meaningful, kind of authentic way. And I wanted the world to know that you can make a difference. You can see someone struggle and acknowledge that and do something that set me on such a different path. Such a different path. I honestly, I kind of wrapped up in that post. I don't know who I would have been without her, but I wouldn't have been any of this if I hadn't met her. So
that's
just a woman helping a woman, a human helping a human, and it changed my life forever. And I just wanted to share that with the world.
I will. So you, for anybody who's listening now, you will be able to go straight to the show notes, and we will link to that post in the show notes for you. Just really powerful. And I think the thing that called to me about your post, well, now I number one, I didn't know we had even more in common. So we're both female founders. We both have 4 children. And now I know that we both come from adversity. So those are all those things I think that's why I was called to it. I hear those stories and I think, wow, I see some of myself in there. Of course, it's a different experience. Yes. But when you live those type of experiences, there's just this connection. Yes. That's just there. So I really want to thank you for your vulnerability, for sharing that. And that was just one I wanted to make sure we highlighted. And I didn't want to go past that and start asking you other questions until we got some of that out. But it's awesome.
Thank you. I'm just stunned that literally millions of people know Mary Hudson's name. And for that, I'm super grateful.
That's just, powerful. What a legacy. So I'm curious to know, so now that we have that as a background, how would you think people that you report to now describe your leadership style? And I am curious to know, so how you think they describe your leadership style and how much of your background and that texture you provided us, really does show up and impact how you show up as a leader?
In everything that I do, it is woven into who I've become. I call it the adversity advantage. It is different. I think there is no wrong path in most cases to finding your leadership and finding who you are. But there is something unique about people who overcome adversity and then use that as a positive rather than a crutch or kind of a disadvantage. I have been fueled for decades by wanting to prove what people thought of me wrong. I have been a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I'm not going to lie. When people laughed that I was going to start a software company, I'm like, hold my rosé. Watch what I can do. You want to laugh at me? Oh, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it huge. That does drive me, and it drives who I hire. I am not addicted to resumes and experience and fancy colleges. I am addicted to that person who's looking for an opportunity, who's looking for they're driving themselves because they know that they can survive. They know that they can thrive. And I don't want the experience. I want the grit. I want the passion. I want the hard work. And when you lead and hire from that and reward for that, it's really not about a piece of paper to me. I didn't get to finish high school. Ended up going through community college, and which was great. I know that was very foundational to me being able to take big kind of baby steps, stepping stones to getting out of my situation. And then I see kind of big titles and big success in people that came out of really amazing schools. And I think that's amazing. But I I take a lot of pride in going from essentially homeless for a short period, and all that comes with that after. In the post that I made, it sounds like it was all fine then. It was not fine then. I went through another 10 solid years of just dealing with the issues, but never letting that take the opportunity from me. And now I want to share that so much. I have a tremendous heart for women and for young girls that have been told they are not good enough. They're not smart enough. They're not from the right family. They're not from the right situation. And deprived of opportunities because of that. I have a huge heart for women who carried some damage into marriages that perpetuated those thought processes. There is nothing that you can't do when you truly believe I am better than this situation I have been put in. It doesn't define who you are. It's a situation that you've been put in. And you can overcome anything. Humans are amazing. And women, it's amazing.
Oh gosh. Yeah. You're just so right. Not last year, gosh, it's just, where's the time going? In 2019, I did it.
I'm like 2019, everything's a blur.
I'm like, what did I was thinking something was last year, but it was the year before that I did a TEDx talk on transforming adversity into opportunity. Yes. So you're so speaking my language. I do a lot of resilience speaking now. And I think what you're saying is just completely filling me up. I hope those are listening are just taking a lot away from this. And again, go look at the post, but there's just so much struggle in the backstory here to be to the point where she's now, is a female founder of a company with 19 employees and growing software company, given the background of the English teacher teaching Shakespeare. I had that same experience. I had a professor in college. I told him I was going to law school and he said, "Oh, we'll just see about that." And he kind of chuckled. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, ooh, you didn't just chuckle at me, did you?
Right.
And then I graduated a semester ahead of my class from law school. I did practice. I don't practice anymore. Mm-hmm. So he probably saw something in me that he was like, I don't see how that's going to work with your personality. Mm-hmm. But I still graduated early ahead of my class and still practiced. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to show you. I was young and I at that time. And now that I look back at it, I realize he is on something.
You.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it. So, it's just that same exact thing you say. And then your whole life, you're just, again, I think coming from adversity and this, for me, this idea of like not feeling worthy or not that I'm not good enough, this whole thing continues to perpetuate. So then everything you do is this idea of like, it's subconscious, you're thinking I'm going to continue to prove myself. Like I'm still worthy. Like I'm more than worthy. Like I'm not, and you just keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it. And so then your drive and your ambition, and you're right. I am attracted to the same kind of team members, the same ones that are self-driven, that they just, it's internal. And I have a high level of respect for people like that. And you're right. I think it's important to reward people who, like, by the way, you just went over and above, like you did these things, you reached that deadline. Yes. You did this thing in a really amazing way. So now you're getting rewarded for it. And I'm exactly where you're at there.
Yeah.
No whiners, please. No whiners.
No whiners. I love people who figure it out. I used to figure out how to start a company from the business side, how to get a software spec written. I literally Googled what is a software spec once upon a time. I was interviewed once and they said, how did you do it? How did you transfer from, teaching high school English to, to running a software company and getting a product built? And I was like, Google.
Google is amazing.
That's not on Google. And I'm sure that really upsets a lot of phenomenal MBAs who put in a lot of effort.
Oh, well,
there's nothing you can't find.
You know what? It's about need. Yeah. He said need, grit, desire to go learn. And there's so much that's out there. I mean, I value that so much. And I can see your drive to lead, where it comes from. It stems from all the adversity and just the idea of like, I'm more than enough and I don't need all those other things. And I want to be more. And it's pretty inspiring. I think the idea of you being that person who's so resilient and so strong, having the ability also with your team members to help build them up too, so that now, you help them to increase in a resilience when they stumble upon a situation. The fact that you've had your background makes it just that much easier and rich for you to give the advice versus kind of having this plain vanilla background. Nobody's like has a perfect background, right? But there are people who literally have not had much adversity, and not many, but there are thumb, I can say I haven't had much. And so in your situation, you're able to go, yeah, well, no, I know where you're coming from and more actually. And here's what I think, how about you go this direction instead? It makes it easy for you to be able to do that,
Yeah. And giving people the opportunity to do the same thing I did. It would be a little bit hypocritical to come up the way that I did with the education that I did and the experiences I had, and then not fill positions the same way, giving that same opportunity. That's near and dear to me, that if you are willing to do the same work, it's almost my tagline, do the work. How did you get here? You do the work. How do you survive this? You do the work. It's not glamorous. And it's not easy. It's really not. People kind of look at success and say, oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I'm like,
let's see the gray hairs. Like the hair color, the gray hairs. Let's see the line. Those are all well earned. Those are well earned. Like battle scars. I always tell people.
The question is no longer, is remote work here to stay? But rather, what does the future of remote work hold? And how can we best prepare for it? As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to take the world by storm, and employees continue to learn how best to work from home, keeping those employees engaged and productive has been an unprecedented challenge for leaders everywhere. At Employee Fanatics, we've been keeping our ears to the ground and intently listening to employees for months to discover what their needs are in this moment, and perhaps more importantly, how those needs will evolve in the coming months. Our new thought paper, Work from Home and Work from the Heart, Reimagining the Future of Remote Work and Employee Engagement, is the culmination of that careful listening process and will guide you and every leader within your organization to reimagine the ways in which you can use work from home processes to engage and empower every team member. To download your copy, visit employeefanatics.com today.
Oh my gosh. Well, so for everybody that's listening now, they can hear you're pretty wonderful and you're a strong and resilient woman, and you have a giving heart and you like to uplift people and let people, shine. And those are all caring leadership and leading with heart kind of tendencies. And so now I want to ask you about a time where, as a leader, you weren't really necessarily proud of yourself as a leader. It could have been a time in your leadership journey. It could be like last week. It doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. But what did that look like? What kind of a specific story you could share where you're like, ugh, that was not great. And then what did you do to come out of it?
How long do you have? I have one of those a day. Like I said, I was a reluctant CEO. I don't have that leadership training that you would typically expect someone to have if they had gone through an MBA program or done the things that teach you how to do some of those just basic leadership skills. I am an exceedingly emotional person, for better or for worse. I have tons of heart for the people that work for me. I also am learning to control those emotions the correct way. So my stress shows, my anger shows. Everyone laughs at me. They're like, do not take up poker. Like, I know when I walk into your office where you are. And that's something I'm working on. I'm dedicated to open and honest. That is really important to me, that someone never has to wonder where they stand or if they're doing their job correctly. But over the last year of COVID and survival and scrappy, I haven't been my best at all times through that period. I find myself angry, and learning to deal with anger or frustration, and how to channel that in a positive way. Okay, you don't like something that's happening, or you don't like the direction this is going. How do you take that anger and frustration and like, I work so hard. Why are you not doing your part? And channel that into something that guides and leads and opens up a healthy conversation. I kind of lost my temper about 6 months ago and lost an employee that I love dearly, because she was like, everything is hard and stressful right now. And I don't want to come to work and it's hard and stressful like this. And it's something I regret. I regret losing her to that kind of I did not lead correctly. And I was angry, frustrated, and really vocalized that in a time when I probably should have taken a breath and gone and come up with a strategy for how to deal with the situation. And I didn't. I kind of, the Gemini in me just, and I lost someone I care about very much because of it. And it's really making me realize the leader doesn't get to have those moments all over your team. You need to take a moment for yourself, take care of yourself. I was exhausted, tired, just stretched too thin, not taking care of myself. And my team paid for that stress and exhaustion. And that was a huge learning lesson in 2020.
And so now do you find yourself, are you giving yourself more time? Are you giving yourself more grace? What are you doing differently that's kind of caring for you?
Yeah, definitely taking more time, with my family and my children. That really kind of got put on a back burner while I was trying to survive this. And then, that leaves you with massive guilt on the other end. You have 2 families to take care of. I have 4 children between 11 and 18. They need driving, they need help. They're remote training, or for school, they were moved to remote. And you feel this sense of guilt. If you're taking really good care of one, you're dropping the other. I hear that, there has to be a work-life balance. That to me is not real, in the sense of they can't be even. It's not possible to give even. Sometimes it's all this, and sometimes it has to be all this and everybody else has to wait. I don't like to pull the girl card. I'm very not that, but I do think mothers running companies and households, we guilt ourselves in the best of times. I'm not doing it right. So either side would pay kind of for the stress or exhaustion that I was feeling. So took vacation this year, went to Aruba, nice. Took some downtime, trying to breathe, take time. I'm setting focus time where no one is allowed to kind of throw things at me. Time for myself to just clarity. We call them clarity breaks. Just doing more to be a human instead of being this machine that just has to go 20 hours a day. And it's making a difference. It is.
Thank you so much for that. See, this is like I said, this is where the brilliance is. It's like what I don't want people to walk away from when they hear the show, if they were listening for the first time, is that I'm trying to highlight all these people who I see as perfect. It's actually, the brilliance actually is not in those like times when everything's like glorious and you're looking great. The brilliance in my mind is right here, like right in this moment where there's that level of vulnerability, which is what spoke to me when I saw that post on LinkedIn. A level of vulnerability and willingness to admit that, and then the willingness to do the work to actually change and get better. It makes such a huge difference. And those who are listening can start to see themselves in your story, particularly if they have emotional self-management issues. And the different leaders have different, that one is probably the most common for us, but there are other things that maybe we have, right? And so, the emotional self-management side is really hard. Even if it's not like, anger could be your issue, but it could be other things. It could just be kind of hyperactivity. It's a thing that I struggle with too, by the way, the most is that idea of not anger, but like really anxiousness and trying to quash it a little bit so that my team members don't have to feel it. And so that's a constant struggle for me too. And I teach on this stuff. This is like, this is what I do. And so this is where it's showing that this is not about perfection. So I really appreciate that. Okay, earlier you were talking about, which I thought was kind of unique, so I want to bring it up. You were talking about how you connect with your team members. You were saying like, well, we don't want to necessarily do remote, so we've been back in the office for a while, and here are some of the things we do. So just quickly, if you just touch on a couple of those things that you do that are kind of unique for your culture, I'd love to hear those and share those with others.
Yes, we have a strongly defined, really clear-cut core values. A lot of people kind of create these core values and they feel so cliche to me. Like, we're honest. I'm like, that's baseline humanity. That's not like a core value of what you're doing. So we've come up with these, and they didn't come from cliche words. They came from who are we? Like, if we really look at who we are, and we are planks at 3 p.m. Made it into that kind of mantra. We speak boldly in whens, not ifs. We are passionate pursuit. We work hard, we play hard. And we commit to that. So we do literally do planks every day at 3 p.m., although we've been doing wall sits lately because we're trying to mix it up a little bit. We bowl together on Tuesdays. We bring our families. We have Impulsify Red happy hours. Everybody wears red on Fridays. Impulsify Red, to me, it's, I have this kind of internal mantra. Impulsify Red is not a hex code. It's not a marketing strategy. It's the core of passion and grit and who we are in our best and worst of times. And everyone who's there lives and breathes that in a way that is unique. It's really a special thing. We had a hard day yesterday. We had 1,000 users go down. And everybody's scrambling. It was about 5 p.m. when we all like to be going home or packing up to. And when I left, we have Slack, and I just said, like, so much went wrong today, so much that it could have just knocked us out. We could have, attacked and pointed fingers. Everybody jumped in and did their part. Everybody supported the other person. That's why I do this. That's why we are Impulsify Red. It's that above and beyond service. And a lot of people, especially in software, above and beyond service is kind of your code of ethics for dealing with your customers. But for us, it's above and beyond service to each other first and foremost, to be our best for our customers, and then just to others outside with a huge commitment to charitable giving that really drives who we are. So that culture is everything to us. It is up on a humongous mural on our wall for sure, but it is lived every day in that office.
I love that. And that is the thing that's missing often, is we put these things on walls and on letterheads and on everything else, but we don't, I would always say, we don't necessarily live to them, and we don't necessarily enforce it, so that even from top to bottom, if people aren't living it out, there's a safe space to actually call it out. So that is another critical piece, but thank you. That's just, oh gosh, I couldn't written this anywhere any better than what you just talked about as a case study of what how we do this. And I think doing it where you're as small as you are now, right, and scaling with that same kind of foundational concept and holding people accountable to living it, makes a huge difference. So for those who are listening now who might need a little extra motivation, or I think you've already given them a lot. I'm going to be honest. This is a pretty powerful podcast, but if there's a pearl of wisdom you'd like to leave them with, what might that be for leaders who are listening right now?
For early leaders, because I have such a special heart for people who are just getting out on their own the first time, really tackling a new company, new leadership, it is more than anything, avoid the naysayers. If there's anything that I've learned, I don't think people are naysayers because they want to harm you or because they want to quash your dreams. I think overall, a lot of people think they're doing you a favor. It's safe to have a job that pays you every week, and it is safe to live within these certain confines. And it takes a little bit of crazy to go out and start a business and to commit your kid's child, all of their savings and all of the things that go into jeopardy. It takes some crazy to do that. And then you ask people who are not living that crazy their opinion. Should I be doing this? What do you think of me doing this? I'm going to go out and build software. And people, they think they're helping you by saying no. Surround yourself with business developers, with entrepreneurs, with the crazies. Surround yourself a little bit with the crazy, because there's some brilliant, amazing ideas that come out of that. And while some are trying to help you protect your children's college funds, which I do appreciate, so much can be done when you really believe in something from that. It's a when, not an if. I'm going to do this. Failure is not an option. And you tune out that negativity that is probably well-meaning, but does not create amazing businesses.
Thanks. That's powerful. Oh yeah. The crazy, it's there. It's full on. Yeah. And when people, my marketing director said to me the other day, what I love about you is that you're I'm doing this, and I'm not really I'm not really wanting to hear that we can't, and I'm going to do it whether you're with me or not. So I'd like for you to be with me, but we're moving forward. And it's because the vision is clear, and I feel like it's the right thing, for the masses, versus just something that's comfortable. It's very uncomfortable, the entire process, right? Yeah. Everything, when you go through all this, a change, whatever you're doing, is very uncomfortable. But in the end, you're this is going to work. This is going to help. And That's what you do. So I love that idea of the crazy.
Tagline is embrace your crazy.
I love it. Embrace your crazy. That's going to be in the title of this podcast, just so you know. So whoever looked, you'll probably see that that's in the title, and that's what we did. So Janine, this has been amazing. I really appreciate your time here. And I know everybody who's listening is just, really taking a lot away. For those who are listening right now, if you really have enjoyed this show and you want others to hear it and be inspired like I have been, please do share it far and wide to out in the world, in the virtual world, right, out in social media. And don't forget to write a review on Apple Podcasts. Remember, when you do that, the more reviews we have, the more it goes, this goes up in the algorithm, and it differentiates our show from others. There are a lot of leadership podcasts. There's something special here, though, because we highlight the brilliance and the imperfection. And that is where we learn. So definitely do that. Again, thank you so much, Janine. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for joining the Leadership at Heart podcast. Be well.